Once I get the right gear, then I'm finally going to start recording bands. I can't start recording my own stuff yet because I've only got a cheap interface. Look, I swear I'm going to do it. I just need time to get the right gear first. If you've been saying something like this, it's time to stop lying to yourself. Hey everybody, the idea for this video came from an appearance I made on Finn McKenty's Most Outstanding Punk Rock MBA podcast. He's got an awesome show and he's a very knowledgeable dude, and I highly recommend checking out not only his YouTube channel, but the podcast as well. There's some great stuff in there. Anyway, the subject of musicians who want to move forward with their careers but are holding themselves back came up. Now this happens way too often, usually because of two things: self-doubt and bad information. The truth is, most of the gear available to the home musician these days is pretty stellar. Even the most bottom barrel, cheap as hell gear is light years beyond what we had at the entry level during the 80s and the 90s. Okay, that is aside from the original Mesa Cab clone and the Line 6 Spider series until the version 2 firmware upgrade, which came out last year. Almost everything you can get your hands on these days is capable of producing either decent or even excellent results. But this guy on a forum said that piece of gear is crap. All right, stop right there. There's a couple of factors at play here. When somebody is trashing cheap gear on a forum, there's a very good chance that that person making the post is heavily invested in a much more expensive setup and is trying to justify the purchase to themselves. This is what's called the sunk cost fallacy. I spent money on it, therefore it's great, and everything else sucks. There's also a very good chance that the person doesn't have anything better, but is just merely parroting what has been said elsewhere in a sad attempt to come across as an expert. Beware the experts. They don't always have your interests in mind. It's more about feeding their own ego as opposed to sharing useful information. And most of them are probably posting in their underwear. They love to drop a lot of buzzwords and not too many facts. Hell, I saw a hilarious one on a cinema camera forum last year. Some meathead was going on and on and on about motion cadence and got called out on it. All right, smart guy. So what exactly is motion cadence? You know what I mean. No, we don't. Please explain it. And we got crickets. The exact same thing applies to those talking about audio gear, especially when the term warm is being thrown around. What the actual fuck does sounds warm mean anyway? I've been at this shit since 1998 and I still haven't figured it out. Ooh, it sounds warm. Fuck off with your bullshit. If you are holding yourself back from starting a recording, ask some simple questions. What exactly are you trying to accomplish? What are your needs? Because the biggest mistake I've ever made was buying something expensive that had features on it that I would never actually use. If you want to record yourself playing guitar, maybe a bit of vocals and bass, getting started has never been more affordable. At most, you'll only ever need a 2-channel recording interface. I recently shot out 5 of these in a video and all of them were priced under $200, and most of them were pretty great, except for the M audio. It sucked giant hairy donkey balls. Hell, the new Audient Evo 204 is $129 and it will suit the needs of many of you and sounds awesome. Unless you're planning on recording live drums or live bands, you're probably not going to need more than a pair of inputs. And even if you do need more channels, something like the Focusrite 18i20 will get the job done, and it's only $499. That is going to give you 8 mic preamps plus ADAT expansion. Now, ADAT is a fiber optic standard that works in banks of 8 channels. A Behringer ADA2000 will give you an extra 8 mic preamps for $298, and it connects to the Focusrite. Suddenly, you've got 16 channels with their own mic preamps for under $800. This was unheard of in the 90s. And there are all kinds of affordable mic options as well. If you're into the screaming vocal thing, of course the number one choice is the Shure SM7B, but the new Rode Pod mic will give it a serious run for the money, and it's only $99. The number one guitar mic in the world, the SM57, once again, only $99. Oh, but you need high-end converters. Well, that's what the cork sniffers on certain forums will tell you anyway. Those idiots need to shut the fuck up! For the longest time, I was convinced that the reason I wasn't getting the guitar tones I was after was due to the fact that I didn't have a set of super expensive Lavery converters. Why? Because that was the bullshit that was being shoveled my way courtesy the Gear Sluts forum. Once I finally realized that place was mostly a circle jerk for the gear snobs of the world, I found the Andy Sneap forum, and my eyes were opened. Guys were getting way better guitar sounds than I was getting using way cheaper gear. And why was this? Because they kept experimenting. Of course, this inspired me to experiment as well, but I could just not get the sound I was looking for out of my 57. I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. What was I doing wrong? Why were others getting such stellar results and mine was total dog shit? Well, I finally broke down and bought 4 more of them and did some tests. Turns out my 57 that I'd been working with for years had a blown capsule and was adding some really nasty frequencies to the top end. The new ones sounded fantastic. So instead of dropping $4,000 or $5,000 on a set of top-end converters that wouldn't have fixed anything, I spent $99 on a new mic. Problem solved. What? You mean spending thousands of dollars on gear won't make me awesome? Of course it will! Spend, spend, spend! Seriously, I get it. The temptation to drop way too much money on the latest whiz-bang gizmo. My records will sound way better if I only had this. It's just not true. Bob Lentini, creator of Saw Studio, used to regularly blow our minds with his recordings, and all he ever used was the lowly Behringer ADA 8000. Armored Saints guitar player Jeff Duncan just recorded his new solo album on a Focusrite 18i20, including live drums, with no expensive outboard preamps. And it sounds great. Better preamps aren't necessarily going to make your record better. Sure, they're great to have, but they are not what makes or breaks a sound. I certainly made that excuse for myself enough times. I didn't get the sound I wanted because the gear was holding me back. And that is absolute fucking bullshit. Truth is, I didn't get the sound I was after because I lacked the knowledge required to achieve that sound. Don't blame your converters either. Despite what some forum blowhards say, converters probably account for the last 1% of your sound. And the insane thing is, most of the analog to digital converters out there are all using the same fucking chip! Cheap ones, expensive ones, they all use the same chip! Mind you, the analog section built around those chips will be different, and logic would suggest that the most expensive converters out there are going to be using much higher quality electronic components on the analog section, but the actual conversion chips are the same. So the next time someone feeds you a line, "Oh, you need better converters," tell them to blow it out their ass. Same with monitors. With what's being offered up these days, you can get some stellar results with the Kali LP6, and a pair will cost you just under $300. I have covered them extensively on this show, and they're certainly the best you can get for that kind of price point. What about recording software? Grab a copy of Reaper. It is full-featured and will cost you $60 for a license. I use it day in and day out to produce this show. Plugins? Free. Amp sims? Free. Bass amp sims? Free. Finding a bass player who can actually play the fucking song? Priceless. Now, I'll be doing some breakdowns in upcoming episodes for my picks of the top freeware plugins you can find in 2020. Don't kid yourself, free stuff has come a very long way, and you can get some great results without dropping a dime on software. There has never been a better time to start recording and mixing. The cost of entry is affordable to just about everyone, even if your budget is almost nothing, because you can always buy used. One of my college professors once told me, always buy last year's technology. And that's a philosophy that has stuck with me over the years, because you'll get something with almost the exact same feature set as the current model, but for far less money. A used Focusrite 18i20 will cost you about $300. I've seen the ADA 8000 going for as little as $129 on the used market. That was the converter that won a blind shootout on the Gear Sluts forum. It was the one converter the snobs picked without knowing what it was. The posts after that little fact were revealed were hilarious. ultimately, the single most important piece of gear you need is knowledge. Where to get started? Check out some of my series. How to record heavy guitar, how to record heavy drums, how to record heavy bass, how to mix heavy drums. I've got links for everything in this episode's description. If you want to record bands, it has never been more affordable to get the gear you need that won't let you down. Don't hold yourself back waiting for the magical shiny piece of gear that will make you awesome. It just doesn't work that way. Recording is like learning an instrument. You have to work at it and refine your technique. That means putting real time into it and prioritizing recording over other things like video games. Because if you're wasting your time, don't be surprised if your recordings don't get better. You have to give it everything you've got, because you can be certain that the kid down the street that you're trying to compete with is giving it everything he's got. Now, if you're stuck or you need feedback, check out the SMG Discord. There's a huge community in there that will help you with your mixes. So if you're waiting to get started, stop fucking waiting. Stop fucking around, take charge of your situation, and go make something awesome.